they're scared little boys, so at the front is the steroids, is the tattoos, is all of that. So from an athlete into getting involved in these in these gangs, I was involved in shootings, there was bashings. I don't know how I didn't get killed or locked up. I wasn't doing it. It was getting caught up with these groups.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wisdom from North. I'm Janneke, and today you're going to meet Leigh Bundy. Leigh Bundy is a TEDx speaker. He's also an NLP coach, and he has coached and helped thousands of people. He's also the CEO of the Ultimate Flow Experience. And I loved speaking with him today because he was really vulnerable and shared his story, because he hasn't always been this successful coach. He has had a very difficult story with having trouble hearing, being bullied as a young boy, and was very focused on everything physical and the facade and being popular. And then it just all fell to pieces, and he had to build himself up from there. So I'm excited for you to hear his story, and also about how we can open up for more flow, starting to love ourselves more. He's also one of our masterclass teachers in Wisdom from North membership, where he's teaching this brilliant class, Stop Taking Action Now until you learn this life-altering inner mind strategy. And if you'd love to get access to 40 plus masterclasses with transformational teachers that I have picked for you, then come and join us in the membership. You can find out about it in the link below. And as always, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't before. And if you click the bell, you get notifications of my new videos. Let's meet Leigh Bundy and learn from his perspectives. Hi, Leigh, and welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I can't wait for this. I know it's taken us a little bit of time, but I'm ready to flow into some amazing topics. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, I'm excited to speak to you today. And it was Yvette Rose, a friend of mine and another teacher, that actually recommended you. And now you are a masterclass teacher in Wisdom from North membership that I'm really excited about. And you're having this class about stop taking action now until you learn this inner mind strategy. And I love that. And we might, speak about that. But I would love to hear a bit about your story. I saw your TEDx talk, which was very powerful. And today you live in Australia. You are coaching thousands of people, helping thousands of people. You are very innovative, talking about, the thinking of tomorrow. How did you get there? Because I know that as a young boy, you had actually trouble hearing and got bullied. How did you go from there until where you are today?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, I've done many interviews. It's actually funny because in total, I've done 4 TEDx talks, and 3 of them got taken down around mental health, the culture here in Australia, and a lot of it was my story. So I'll tell you, it's so funny, since there's been a new censorship about, speaking, maybe it's not maybe, but it's the truth. They got taken down, which is really interesting because this was pre-lockdown. So there was a big censorship that happened. But anyway, I'll tell you my story, then you'll have a better understanding why people maybe, they want to keep a blindfold on others. So when I was young, I was diagnosed with, I was pretty much almost deaf. When I say I had 13% hearing. So when you're growing up and you talk like this and whatever, and, I was only little, people like to, they've got another reason to pick on you. So I had asthma, I didn't get picked on in sporting games, so I got isolated. And I remember I said to my mum, I still remember this, and I say it in my TED talk because I remember her sitting down and, I'm standing, just a little boy, and I said, Mum, why am I like this? Why aren't I like anyone else? I even remember I've got an older sister, and at the time was a bit funny. I remember her girlfriends will come over and they used to make me say certain words like, you say brown, but brown and down. So they used to pick on me a little bit. Now I laugh at it because it's funny. But, back then when you're a young child and you're wanting to work yourself out and what am I doing and, so on. But I had this thing in me that I really didn't want to fit in. Like I had to go to a speech therapist. I would get bullied. I remember I'd get invited to like parties, and it was like a pretend party, and no one even would come. Or I invite people to my birthday, and everyone say they're coming, and then no one will rock up. And my parents have put on all, a really nice, beautiful spread and whatever. And then I just sort of felt like, you know what, the world is an interesting place. I won't say what I would say now. But then I looked, I love sport, and I saw Michael Jordan. I'm here in Australia. I love AFL, and I like Collingwood. They're in the finals. Hopefully, we get in. At the moment. So I loved, and I see these people. You don't really need to speak. Michael Jordan will fly through the air, and he's just got so much confidence, so much power. I see these AFL footballers. So I said, well, if I don't need to speak and hear so much, why don't I apply myself to sport? So then I had an unhealthy obsession with sport, where I would pretend I'd go to school, but I'd be running, jogging, and lifting weights and practicing and so on. So fast forward that, I became an athlete, and instead of people saying, no, we won't pick you to play whatever it was, dodgeball or football, they couldn't help, because I become this athlete, and that was my me getting at the front of the line, so to speak. So then from 4 to 10, I had or probably say 8 to 10, then 10 to 12, I had a growth spurt. And I'm 6'3" now, and I'm not as like heavy as I am now, but being someone, 12-year-old, being 6'3", I could slam dunk. I was fast. I was strong, and I ended up playing college basketball. I was picked for all these different teams, AFL football. I got drafted to play college basketball. I spent 2 years in America, and you felt famous, and it wasn't, people didn't care about. And obviously during that time, what I left out, my speech and my hearing, and that still today it's not 100%, but it's something that you grow around or grow into, so to speak. If you focus on it, I always say, if you focus on the pole, you're going to hit the pole. So fast forward that, I become this athlete and really found my place in this world. And it was like, well, I didn't want to be like anyone else. It wasn't that I thought I was any better. I just, I love being the leader. I love getting at the front. I love leading other people. And even when I was 4 years old, when all of that pain and bullying was going on, having so-called awareness when you're 4 years old, I just didn't want to be like anybody else. I thought, well, why did I need to do that? Why did I, people say, go to this job, or you need to do these things. And here in Australia, there's a lot of conditioning. They say here in Melbourne, it's the most livable city in the world. It's rubbish. I don't know where they got that from. Everyone's heads are like ostriches, their consciousness, they're closed. There's a lot of racism. Energy is like that instead of being like that. And I felt this all the way through. People, unfortunately, yes, I've got tattoos and I look like a big guy, but that was a way to be, oh, look at me, or to get women and blah, 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 but you're a scared little boy. A lot of girls, they get plastic everything to, the guys think I'm, pretty, but it's these facades. So in that time, what happened was, when I started to go, I was around 18. Instead of going into a career, I didn't know what I thought I was going to be a sporting star. Started hanging around with these people with tattoos, ride motorbikes, look at me, and it was this power thing. We're in this brotherhood. Here in Australia, it's called bikies. And I started hanging around with these people, going out partying, and that was another way to be seen, be understood, be respected. But it wasn't a healthy way, because these sort of people, it was a, when I was telling you, or when we're talking about divine masculine into an unhealthy masculine, it might look good, you look like a big guy, whatever, but most of these guys, as I know, they're scared little boys, so the front is the steroids, is the tattoos, is all of that. So from an athlete into getting involved in these wrong, in these gangs, I was involved in shootings, there was bashings. I don't know how I didn't get killed or locked up. I wasn't doing it. It was getting caught up with these groups. So in that time of, okay, all right, I didn't know who I was. Then I discovered myself through sport. Then, being in these gangs and streetwise and partying and women and whatever, then it's like, oh, you need to go into a career. What did I want to do? So, well, going to do a trade because I was fit and whatever. So here in Australia, be a tradie. That's the way they do things. And it's easy because you don't need to think and you just go into something and, you fall into it. But in these trades, unfortunately, is the number one or one of the biggest reasons for workplace bullying and workplace suicide, because you have people that, do this and they're calling you, I won't say, disgusting names, and it's broken people hurt, broken people leading, well, let's just say hurt people, you know what I mean? So it was a generation of being in an environment that wasn't serving me. These people weren't leaders. They were dictators. It was very bad energy. I'd go to work with anxiety because I know, you get picked on and all these things. And it was like, here I am in my early 20s, and I felt like I was the little boy being picked on again. But this time, like I said in my TED talk, I'm 6'3", I'm a big dude, I'm rolling with these people. So then I got to a point where, hold on a minute, I had enough. So then I would revert to violence. So it'd be like I say to them, hey, you better start talking to me, right? Blah, blah, blah. So that's how I spoke back, because I didn't have the communication as I had now. So through that journey, if we fast forward that, I felt like I was bullied. I wanted to get out of it. And then in this time, that was my first engagement where I was seeing a girl that really didn't see the world as I did. And without getting into too many details, not really feeling, respected or feeling in a place of a workplace. And then in this relationship, in life, one of the biggest causes of mental health, especially here in Australia for men, or suicide, is when you have a direction, or, you lose your direction, lose yourself, lose the relationship, lose self-love. You don't have anything bigger than your facade or your job, you know what I mean, by the way you look. You're like, where am I going? Where the F, or what have I got to live for? So in that breakup, I went down, I had property, I had land, I was moving into a house, I was going to get married. It all went to, it just, I couldn't see it happening. Cut a long story short, I lost my property, lost my, my apartment I was living in, 850 grand in debt. I couldn't get any money back from the breakup of, obviously, through the breakup we had. And I moved back to my parents' place. So I'm in that time of losing myself, being 850 grand in debt. I didn't have any of this mindset, didn't know about consciousness, didn't know about reprogramming, meditation, didn't know about anything that what we're going to talk about. And I just felt like a wave. I was suffocating. And then I got to a point where I attempted to take my life 3 times. The depression, the embarrassment. Yeah, it was just, okay, I'm going to get married. I'm moving into a new home. I've got money. I've got this, that, to nothing. 850 grand in debt, to be honest with you. I'm probably still paying some of it off till today. And this is 15 years ago, close to $1 million. Yeah, I just didn't have the tools to get out of it. I didn't have the right support. My parents didn't really know what to say. So in a nutshell of being, 6 months, a really dark time, and we don't really need to share too much of that. It was just a really dark time. I met some people that were in like NLP. They knew about neuro-linguistics programming. And I thought it was a cult. You meet these people, when I first met this guy, I said, are you a drug dealer? And he goes, why would you think I'm a drug dealer? I said, you look good. You've got girls around you. You've got money. Your mind's sharp. You look like one of those mafia guys, And he's like, I said to him, mate, when I'm around you, I said, I want to be around you more because, these people have their mind and they just, he was just switched on. He said, look, you have to, I've got a friend who actually knows I was actually seeing, was my second fiance. Can't remember, there's so many of them, at the time. And they said, look, you have to come and, check out this NLP. It's really great. It's not emotional intelligence. They didn't say that then. They just said to get in control of how you feel. So I said, you know what, I'll give it a go. I didn't have the money. I had to borrow 10 grand and borrow another 10 grand because there's different stages. There's entry level NLP, there's master prac. So I flew out to Queensland, Coolangatta, and borrowed the money, just like what was going on. Like I didn't even want to be around people. I grew a beard and was so depressive and so on. but that was the journey of giving that a go. And through that, and I discovered, like, I started to learn the content, but through that transition, I started to really connect myself, connect back with myself. And, from going through that, and I wanted to be detailed, so people have an understanding, because some people go, oh, look, I've gone through a hard time in my life. I've hit rock bottom many times. But through that journey of being able to see the light and take the option, to improve yourself, where I didn't have the money, I didn't want to go. But this is a key thing I want to share with everybody. It wasn't me just learning, when we take in information, because anyone can go and do an NLP course or regurgitate information, from YouTube or whatever, or read books. But where the big change was, the information that I took and what I learned, I actioned it to make it change, my physical life. Like, not to sit back and go, okay, you know what I've learned in the books, I'm gonna leave it there. I would read over the books, the NLP books, from front to back every day, and apply certain things to actually action it in my life. Instead of, people go to a Tony Robbins, or they go and do another course, and then it's, book, they close the book, and it sits on the table, but they're not actually actioning it. So
can I ask you, in the middle of that, was there one thing that was a big aha for you? You said you started implementing it. However, it must have been quite a leap. You said this was totally new for you. You said you thought it was a cult. Do you remember that you had some ahas? Because I know I've had that in my life. I was like, oh, is that the way I can look at life? I never knew that. Did you have some like deep insights that really made you realize, wow, this is something I want to continue with?
There was many. Like, if people know NLP, and I know it's been saturated and so, like, diluted now, everyone's an NLP master prac. I did mine 15 years ago, and learned from Richard Bandler, who's the guy who lives over in Texas now. He's the guy who invented it. And what I learned was, I was able to get in control of my emotions, and then I was able to choose what I wanted to feel. Get myself in peak state, get myself in such a state. They talk about the triple S to success. So they talk about, get yourself into the story, state, and then strategy. The way I teach it, get yourself in peak state, peak energy state. Then the story you tell yourself is automatically going to be positive. And then the strategy of, normally what we do is breaking the board. You don't really need to think about it. But if you tell yourself, okay, it's the strategy, then the story, then the state, your energy isn't high enough. You're too much thinking about it. Your story in your mind is going to be sticky. And then the state is, oh, I'll get myself in an energy state now. So learning that, I always applied it. But if I was going on, I used to be petrified of public speaking, being on stages, all around the world, multiple TED Talks. So instead of going, oh, geez, what I need to think about in my talk, if you get yourself in energy overrides everything. So you get yourself in peak state, you're in this, you're not really worrying about so much. So that was a really big aha moment. The other thing was, when I actually did change work, there's a thing called parts integration. Sometimes we have one part and the tug of war. So there could be a part of me that, wants to be a world recognized coach, and it could be a part of me that wants to be a bum, so you've got this internal tug of war, which you have. Some men get married, and then their part of them wants to be single. You know what I mean? And there's some, the guy that I was doing the breakthrough on, he was he was a multi-millionaire. He owned McDonald's all around Australia, McDonald's franchises. And he had a beautiful family, but because he had money and power, he wanted to be single. So he was like, do I leave my family? Do I go and do that? So when you bring these parts together about doing an exercise of asking the right questions, you're almost in a, it's called a parts integration. You're almost in a trance of going, why do you want that part? Which whatever that is, to be single, what, this part, and you actually bring it together. And it's so crazy. Your hands start off here, and when you're focusing on it, because you've got someone asking you, and you're that in trance, and they come together, some of the things, and how you can, heal someone so quickly, it blew my mind. There was a lot of timeline therapy as well, like certain things.
Can I just ask what you said? I thought that was interesting because that's a great example. I want to be in a relationship. I want to be single. How can they sort of come together? Because either you are in a relationship or you're
Yes.
single. So
The
yeah, do
question.
you feel like, okay, all of a sudden now I know, or these has sort of melted together, so now I know that I really want to be in a relationship or I really want to be single?
Many people have asked me this that haven't seen it. What happens is, we have almost split personalities, and it can be one, two, three, four. And when you do this, you're asking, so why is this useful? Why is this important to you? So you ask, and then you chunk down. Then you ask another question, and then why is that important to you? Because it gives me this. Why is that important? Because it gives you this. And you're writing it down like an A1. You do almost like, so imagine you're having like 5 columns on an A1 bit of paper and you're flipping 3 pages. So you're just going deep, 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 better quality questions, better quality answers, better quality life. So you're getting really deep to these soul core answers. And then when it comes together, I've seen people like their body overrides their nervous system. They've sort of known what they've wanted, but because they haven't really discovered and brought it together and they haven't asked themselves the proper questions, do I want to be single? Do I want to go over there? Or do I want to be, because they haven't gone through this process and it neurologically and I say energetically, but it puts you like I've seen people have fits because their body's been out of alignment. They're sitting there, it can be gross. They're sitting there, they've got like snot coming out their nose, or they're sitting there shaking and convulsing and like they're crying, then laughing. And I freaked out at the start because I'm like, are they having a fit? But what it is, because your body's been so out of alignment, it overrides your nervous system, and then your body can't handle it. There was many things that that were aha moments. The biggest ones, like I said, having that emotional intelligence, learning the triple S, the success, part integration, and then really taking control back over your life.
Yeah. Wow, thank you for sharing so open-heartedly your story. I believe also, or I've read that we also have a lot of suicides in Scandinavia, which I find interesting. And I can identify with what you're saying about the facade. And I have just been thinking, and we see that in poor countries, that you see a lot more smiles there than you do actually in our countries, which is interesting. I wanted to ask you a bit about divine masculine. So, what is that to you? And I know you work with men. So, how do you teach them to really step into this more healthy masculinity and healthy power?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of let's say BS about the masculine, and these guys that are in their feminine, and but they're saying masculine, and then people that are in their alpha, they think that's masculine, and that isn't. I always say, I've run over 35 retreats. One of my companies is Beast Mode Australia, and what I teach and how I teach men is not my putting my beliefs on this is masculine, you have to bang on your chest, or you need a shaved head, tattoos, and you need to do what I do. It's each masculine energy is different in each male. It's like feminine is different. A woman, each woman is going to portray and, you know, just put out a different feminine energy because the way they look and what they've gone through and everything. It's okay. It's a feminine energy. It's, the way I look at it as, you can see a beautiful woman walk into a room like a bar or an event, and she doesn't need to be showing her whatever, but she can still look beautiful, but be that energy. Like women, men want to be with her, men want, men want to be with her, women want to be her. It's like someone, I look at The Rock. He's not that angry masculine. You look at him, he's a big dude, he's got a good body, but he's very, switched on and still humble and has a big heart. So you look at that, you look at energies, healthy masculine, or healthy feminine, or if you talk about a divine feminine, I look at that as being in your power, and you're not needing to fill yourself up from external, influences from women or anyone else. You're very comfortable in your own energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I would love to hear a bit more about flow state. And you're coaching people to get into this flow. And I'm curious about that. You speak about inspired flow. So what can we do to open up for more flow in our lives?
So the flow state is an actual science. It's a peak performance hack. Without getting too much into that, a lot of you have these X Games guys that are doing some crazy things, and these stunt people that are doing things that we thought were unbreakable, and the quarter mile people breaking that we thought that was impossible. It's being able to get yourself, enjoy a process, but it's almost going from fear into excitement and then into unconscious competence. And what that does is putting you in your peak potential without thinking too much. So flow, there's many different things in flow. Yes, you can take supplements that can help you, but even in your working environment, like one of the things I'm teaching a lot of people that want to become coaches or leaders or even CEOs in companies, they go, look, Leigh, I'm petrified of public speaking. I don't know how to speak. And, and I said, it's not that you need to become a greater speaker. You need to become obsessed with what you're talking about. So when someone can have that obsession and that passion about what they're talking about, who cares if you stutter? Who cares if you say it wrong? Because human to human, when we're so passionate, it's not what we say, it's how we say it. You know what I mean? Like, you want to feel it. If you can't feel what I'm saying, then there's no point. Someone can be, hey, they can be very articulated. They can, take you on a journey and use all these strategies. But if you can't feel it, and I always say that, because with myself, instead of me becoming a better speaker to get to overcome public speaking, what I was doing without me knowing, getting into the flow state, that I was building that emotional and that let's say that energetic bond with myself, with the action and speaking and then taking the action, that I didn't need to think about it. So I was just that unconscious competent. When I do my kickboxing or fighting, or when I train in the gym, I put my headphones on, boom, and then it's like, have you ever driven a car and you've driven somewhere, gone through a red light around the roundabout, and you couldn't remember how you got there? You're just in that complete bliss. That's a state of flow state.
Awesome. And I want to go a little bit back to when we're struggling, because we live in societies that expects a lot of us, and maybe we expect a lot from ourselves. And those we're hanging out with might also be of the same kind of thinking. And there are some people who say, show me the 5 people you hang out with, and that's the average of who you are. So could you
believe that?
yeah. So could you speak a little bit to how you work with people, understanding how they can love themselves? Because self-love can seem like, oh, I got to love myself. Like I can imagine that some men that comes from, like a background like you, with a lot of bullying and a lot of, I don't know, more like being
Sort of physical and
yeah,
violence.
yeah, I don't know what to call it. That is just sounds so weird and very, I don't know, feminine and too sweet. So how do you sort of coach men and help them love themselves and start that journey?
That's, what, someone asked me, a female, or let me get that right. The lady that asked me, it was the wife of a new client of mine, said the exact same thing. And I said, fantastic, for you to even have that awareness to ask, and even for yourself to ask that question, is great. Unfortunately, the word LOVE, the 4-letter word love, most of us don't have a clue what it means. There's been time, I'll let you know this. So I've worked with the Heart Math Institute, which works with Dr. Joe Dispenza, where I had my brain hooked up to an EEG machine, which reads your brain activity and hormones. When we say love, our brain is going, WTF, what the, it's not going, what are we talking about? It doesn't even know, because love, the way you would experience love and the way I would, and what I say, is completely different. And every person across the world, because when we say self-love and it's an idea, And I say to men, it's not about you loving yourself, like, because our brains go, what are you talking about? It's about the word try. You either do it or you don't. There's the other words, hustle and grind. These are words that your brain's going. No wonder a lot of people find it hard to love themselves, because chemically, when you think, you feel, and when you feel, you think. So it's you think and feel and think. It's a success loop. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot. So if we're saying words that our consciousness and our brain goes, what are you talking about? It's like if we spoke another language, we're not going to then take the action. You know what I'm saying? It's similar to the formula about the programming thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. If all of that around love, you don't know, you haven't spent time to get all of that right, then your behaviors and actions, and this is a really big thing for breakups, marriage breakups, people not understanding that. So what I connect with even more, instead of men loving themselves, yes, we say it's about care, but what's important to you. So when you talk about what's important to you, and we connect to values and beliefs in all the life area, I call it an identity footprint. So we have all of your life areas, and then you break down your top 5 values and then your top 5 beliefs. Then we have, to go deeper, you have your top 3 motivators and then drivers. What that creates is your identity. It's like, a certain Avenger power, in each life area, you're a different Avenger, like a superhero. Because when you're, in the gym or looking after your health, you're someone completely different when you're with your children or when you're, at work. So each life area. But if you don't know what you value, and then what is your belief, then you're making it up. Either you're getting conditioned from your environment, and then either you don't know, so you're not in your power. So when we talk, when we create this for men, create an identity footprint or a success blueprint, what that does is they say, Leigh, when I do this, I know myself more, and I have a sense of self-worth and self-love. So most of the time, so just to give you a breakdown, we do the internal work to get all of that right, very similar to this formula. And then I ask them, how do you feel, after the 2 weeks? I feel more me. I feel more in love. I feel, more worthy, so on. So yeah, that's a big thing when we talk about, the whole thing about, love and so on. It can come to that perspective when, like if someone says, I love you, what does your mind say? Oh, that's nice. But then it switches off. You don't really go, but how do you love me? Why do you love me? But, have you ever thought about that? Someone says, I love you. And all you do is you just accept the I love you, and then you just switch off to it. But the thing, what you have to remember, when people exist in a relationship and they're just existing. So if you're not spending time like when you talk, what you hear, you forget, what you see, you do, and what you do, you remember. What do we do in a relationship? We just talk. So most of the time, what the person's saying, you're forgetting. But one of the things I teach my clients, it's called a bridge exercise, where you have, ladies first. So the woman will be sitting down, and she'll be telling you all the things that's important to her in the relationship, meaning what she needs and wants, and you're actually writing it down. So she'll be sitting down and you're writing it exactly what she's saying on an A1 bit of paper. And you're not using your words, you're using hers. And that's saying, okay, you're taking notice. Boom, you'll swap down. The man will sit down and the woman will do it. So then you have her 10 top priorities, but it's more like a love language. So it's not just talking about it, because most of the time, especially in this modern age, we forget about it. And that's a very powerful thing. So you have the woman's, you have the man's, then you have a joint agreement, and you have it up. So when the man gets up in the morning, where you get up in bed, you see it straight away. It's in, the woman's one's in pink because it's, feminine. And when she gets up, or wherever she wants to put it, you'll see it and connect with it. That's a very powerful way to program the mind and remind you again, and to say, because in relationships, what normally happens is we just exist and we're so busy, and okay, you connect, you be intimate, or we go on a date. They're just little times when you're sort of, spending that time, but people grow out of each other, they're not really connecting. And what happens is one partner will lose themselves, then the relationship will collapse.
That makes sense. And I've experienced that. Awesome. All right. You have a masterclass in Wisdom from North membership, Stop Taking Action Now. And could you share a little bit, not to, of course, you can't give away the whole class. We don't have time for that. But share a little bit about that formula, what the formula is, because you have been speaking a bit about it, that you have it in the back there. So I think people are curious what that is.
Yeah. Yep. So it really starts with programming. So new programming every morning, which is meditation, becoming familiar with, closing your eyes, switching off the, it's like rehearsal leads to new thoughts. New thoughts lead to new feelings. New feelings lead to a new belief system. That's your internal world. That people normally leave that untouched, because when you cross over from your belief into behaviors, then it's how do you behave? Are you taking efficient action or are you taking mindless action? So what happens is a lot of people are starting from action. So they're leaving behaviors, they're leaving beliefs, they're leaving feelings, they're leaving thoughts, and they're leaving programming. So you have to remember your programming, thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are getting influenced from the time you get up through Wi-Fi, through smells, through anchors, through memories, through the past, through environments, through pollution. So we're behind the eight ball even before that. So if you're not actually going, okay, I'm putting my suit of armor on, I'm putting a force field around, I'm reprogramming myself from the moment you get up, then unfortunately you're living way below your potential and you're taking action. Then what normally happens, you're taking action from a virus. So if you go, okay, I've got, programming, thoughts, feelings, beliefs around a bad relationship, abuse, trauma, insecurities. Oh, but I'm going to go dating with the girlfriends on Saturday. What do you think you're going to attract? You're going to attract the same. It's people that have scarcity, no confidence, blah, 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 but then they want to start a business, but how can you're not feeling abundant and so on. So yeah, it's just, it's a game changer. So many high-end people learn it. And yeah, if what I say to people, I wouldn't have taught that. There could have been 10 million things I could have taught you guys, but once you get this, it's a flow state. There you go.
Awesome. And I'm so excited for our members to experience it. And for everybody who wants to experience it, you can find the link to the membership below, and you're so welcome to join us. Leigh, on the top of the hour here, how can people work with you and connect with you? Can you share a little bit about, what you're working on right now, and if people want to reach out?
So I'm on Instagram, as most people are, on Facebook. I haven't got over on, what was it called? TikTok. So
I just started there. A week ago, I started on TikTok. It was a girlfriend of mine. She was like, you got to get there. And I was like, no, I can't do that. But then I started making videos, and I'm in a process of integrating more of my inner child and just having fun. And I'm just having fun there. So I really recommend it. Just go there and have fun, and, don't have too high expectations. Just make funny videos and what you think is important. I'm having a blast there. I just wanted to mention.
I like that. Thank you that you actually told me, because I want someone that gets it, that, because otherwise I've got friends that are going, they don't have a clue. But anyway, on social media, LinkedIn, I haven't really been that active. And I really love connecting with people and hearing their story. A lot of people message me from all around the world, and we get on a Zoom, and I say, okay, cool, let's get on. I'll give them half an hour of my time to really connect, because messages and all of that can be misunderstood. And I just really want where people are at. The stuff that we're doing is on multiple levels, helping men and women. I'm about to get back over to Bali and run my transformational retreats, which are, some of them are just the masculine, the men's only. Then I have ones called Beauties and the Beast. So, but beasts and beauties. And don't people go, oh, do I have to be a beast? And the women are saying, they're only labels. It doesn't matter what you look like, or everyone's beautiful and everyone's a beast in my eyes. And then we have peak performance retreats. So there's so much happening. And at the end of the day, I love to connect and then just really see where people are at, and then you can give them a bit of a guide for what's going to be the best service for them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the beautiful work you're doing. And I feel like there's always a meaning to our lives. The story you've had, what you struggled with, is now what you can help people with. And I think it's so important that more men have some role models, because there's so many women in this business or industry or this area, and we need some more men that can be really healthy, beautiful, masculine role models for the men that are growing up these days. Yeah,
that's the real epidemic. I did a talk about, I'm glad that you said that. I know we're finishing off, but women are in their power, men are here, and women they're forced into their masculine. They're forced to get things done. They're forced to be single moms. They're forced to be these amazing businesswomen, and men are just falling down, and it's creating this, this separation, failed marriages, failed, families, blah, blah, blah. And, I think women need to just the men need to lead properly. Not saying that we're any better, definitely not, but a man needs to be a man needs to be a man, and sort of women, she can just, okay, now I can let my guard down a little bit, so I see that, and I'm glad that you said that, because that's a whole other thing I can talk about.
Yes, Leigh, let's do that another time. And thank you so much again, and all the best with helping people in your coaching.
So hopefully, everyone got a bit of value from that, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you liked it, please subscribe and like the video or comment below and let me know what you think. And I would also love for you to check out my other videos on YouTube or wisdomfromnorth.com. See you in the next video.